Great. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized by eTwinning as part of the Spring Campaign 2024. The Spring Campaign kicked off on the 4th of March and it will last until the 29th. I hope you already took part in some of the activities we have prepared for you. But if you didn't have the chance, I will post all the necessary links in the chat in a while, so you'll be able to access the group and take part in all the activities as part of the spring campaign. But today we are here, and as you can see, I'm not alone, to host this webinar with the Hannah Frank House. And did you know that the International Day Against Discrimination and Racism is marked every year on the 21st of March? If you didn't know, today is a good opportunity to know more about the topic. The Hannah Frank House will host a webinar on Stories That Move, where you will learn new strategies to talk about discrimination with your students. And today, I invited, and I would like actually to give the floor to two stories that move trainers, Juliette Schrauen and Luca Merlin, who work both at the Hannah Frank House in the educational department. So without further ado, Juliette and Luca, I would like now to give you the floor. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Marta, for inviting us and for giving us the floor to present our online tool, Stories That Move. You gave already a little bit of the introduction that it's connected to the International Day Against Racism and Discrimination. We always organize webinars in order to help you to discuss these kind of big days and big occasions with your students and give you some tools beforehand, so when the day finally arrives, you know what to do in your classroom. So that's what we will focus on today. But before I will give you a little bit more information of the tool and the program of today, I also want to give you a little bit of history of the tool, because it's almost 10 years that we've been working on this project. We just had a big relaunch in the summer, so the whole tool has been renewed. So we're really excited to share with you the new version and the new functions within it, and we will get to that in a bit. But we've been doing this project together with 8 partners in Europe, and they're from different countries. We'll work with them, and also the tool is in all those languages. I will show you in a bit, but I wanted to mention it at the start because it's good for you to know that we're not just doing this from the Anne Frank House, we're doing this with more European countries. So we're doing it with partners in Germany and Austria, in Poland, in Slovakia, Ukraine, and in Spain. So those are our partners. So we're really excited to show you, and hopefully you can do something with it. And I also want to say, if you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat. Marta will keep an eye on them, but also Luca and I will, because we will presenting together. So when I'm speaking, she will check the chat, and when she's speaking, I will check it, so we can also answer questions in between. But without further ado, I will show you what we're planning today. I already gave you a bit of the introduction of Stories That Move, but I will take you to the tool in a bit. And we will go see Young Voices, because the tool is based on stories of young people from Europe. And then we will experience the toolbox together. And at the end, we have more room for questions. But like I said, please ask questions in between if you want to. Now I will take you, before we will see it, we want to know a bit about you. So Marta, I would like you to ask, could you share the first question? And then Luca will discuss it with you to see what the results are.
Yes, thank you, Juliette. Yeah, there is the first question. We were really curious about if you already have some experience with Stories That Move. So you can give your answer yes, a little, or no. And so we can see a bit about your experience as a group. And can everyone can go into it with the code, right, Marta?
Indeed, I've just posted the code in the chat. So you just need to go at menti.com and type the code that you find in the chat. We have already some answers in the chat. A no as a first answer. Okay, that we see in the screen as well.
2 no's, 3 no's. A little, okay. 1 yes, that's great to hear. Let's wait a second, and then I'm curious about maybe some experiences of people who already tried working with Stories That Move.
Yeah, indeed. If anyone would like to share if you had any previous experiences, you can, of course, type in the chat if you would like to elaborate a bit more. We are reading you.
Maybe it's nice to know for us, like, with who did you work with when you use Stories That Move? Is it your class or something else? Let us know in the chat.
Don't be shy, no answers are wrong here. I first used it during the lockdown with my high school students aged 17. Class, they say class. Yeah, classroom.
Yeah. All right, so during the lockdown, yeah, it's also a good tool to use online, exactly. But in the classroom, it's also really possible, of course, in the class. Okay. All right. Then maybe we can go to the next question, if that's possible. Oh, I also see like someone used it, Anna used it at the Anne Frank House for an Erasmus Plus project. Good to hear.
Okay, I will present the next question.
Yeah, thank you.
The code should be the same. So you just go again at menti.com with the same code.
Yes, so please let us know. Discussing the topic of racism in class, I find easy, challenging, or difficult. It's also good to share that a bit together so we know, yeah, how you experiencing talking about those kind of topics with young people. So I see a lot of people choosing challenging. It can be difficult. Okay, I see in the chat. Some people, they find it easy. Feel free to share in the chat maybe why. I'm curious. Maybe we can learn from each other. But mostly challenging. Well, then it's good that we are here and that we can share the tool with you, because the tool is a good way to use for starting a conversation in class. And I think we just gonna go through the tool, right, Juliette? I think we're gonna show you all, and we're gonna experiencing some ourselves as well. But now we know a little bit about how we look to this kind of situations and topics. All right.
Thank you, Luca and Marta. It's also good for us to know the reason why we ask if you already know the tool or if you're new to it, and if you have discussed discrimination in class and how you experience yourself, so we can give a little bit better explanation of the tool and how to use it. So it's great to see some of you have already used it in class, or some of you have seen it a bit. But for those of you who haven't seen the tool yet, we will go straight to it. So I'm gonna share my screen again. I'm hoping you can all see it. But here you can see, like we said, it's an online tool, so it's really great to use when you're doing online programs or during lockdown, for example. But it's all based online. And like I said before, it's based on the stories of young people from Europe that share their experiences with racism, with discrimination, and all the different forms. So young people can empathize easier with the stories because they are looking at people that are around the same age, maybe look the same or look differently and live in a different part in Europe, but maybe are experiencing the exact same thing as you are in your own country. So it's also a way of not feeling alone, feeling more close to people, but also being able to see, hey, somebody that's the same age as me is experiencing something that they should not be experiencing. So it's also a helpful tool to get the conversation starting. Like Luca mentioned before, you can see on your screen, it's a website. So it's storiesthatmove.org. Like I said before, we have different languages. So all the partners we work with, we also made the tool in those languages. You can also see here Hungary. I didn't mention it before because with the new rebuild, the tool itself is not yet in Hungarian. There might be a Hungarian version coming soon, but for now it's not available. So it's only in English if you're going through this pad, but the website itself is in Hungarian as well. So you can always choose your own language when you're on the website to explore all the materials we have to offer here. I'm first going to show you a bit how the website works so you know where to find stuff before we will go to the online tool and do some exercises, and Luca will guide you through those again. But I want to mention first, you can always find on the website our upcoming events. We have regular webinars, like I mentioned before, and a little bit of an explanation of the different learning paths because it's built with 5 learning paths. Each has a theme, which I will show you in a bit. And making an account is free. So you don't have to pay anything. You can use it wherever you want. You only need to log in with an email address. And then on the website, under Getting Started, we also have tips for if you have any technical problems, but also more information on the methodology of Stories That Move. So there's a lot of information if you're interested in knowing more about blended learning, because that's what we use a lot in the tool, but also how to deal with complexity, with emotions, and active learning, which we do a lot. I think some of you might know visible thinking strategies. That's also one of the main components that we use in Stories That Move. And something I also want to mention, because some of you might find it interesting, we also have expert voices. They give a little bit more information about certain topics, certain methodologies we use in Stories That Move, because they advised us at the beginning of the project as well. So those you can also find on the website. So this is more for you as a teacher if you want to know more about how Stories That Move is based, how it works. You can all find it here. But the most important part, of course, of Stories That Move is the teaching materials. You can find it again at the top in the menu. You can already see here we have the online tool, the videos, the worksheets. If you're not able to do anything online, you can also print some materials. We have guides for each learning path, so you can also have more information as a teacher how to use it. And we have a glossary, so all the difficult words are explained. So these you can all find. But I will take you to the online tool. Like I mentioned, we have 5 learning paths, but you can choose whatever one you want to use. You don't have to start with the first one and then go to the second. You can just start at the fourth one if you want. So it's really a pick and choose toolbox. The first one, seeing and being, it's totally about what is your identity? How do I see other people? How do they see me? So that's mostly the focus. Then the second one is the one we will be looking at today, facing discrimination. So how does discrimination work? How do youngsters experience it themselves? So more technical in a way and theoretical, but also really just getting to know what it is and what we as youngsters and as people can do ourselves to make it a bit better in our world, so we know how to stand up against it. Then the third one is life stories. It's about historical stories because unfortunately discrimination has been around for a really long time. So you can also look at stories from people from a while back. One of the stories in there is of course Méprise, because she's connected to Anne Frank as well. Then the fourth one is about mastering the media, which is connected to the media. So you're learning also about disinformation, how the media influences us. So how does this work with our world now? Because a lot of it is online. So youngsters also tell their story about that part. And then the last one, taking action, focuses on young people that share stories with you, how they take action. They give small examples, but also sometimes bigger ones, but it's also a way to inspire your kids in your classrooms and whatever you work with. How can we do something ourselves, and that it doesn't need to be that big? You can do something really small that has an impact. So that's kind of the base of the whole tool, how it works. And then, like I said, the videos we have are all connected to each of these learning paths. So videos that we have for learning part 1, seeing and being, those will be about identity. But we will look at the one from facing discrimination today. As you can see here, there are a lot of different clips. You can always see what their name is, where they're from, and their age, and a little bit about what the clip is going to be about, because of course, for you, it's good to know before you click on it. So that's what you can find here. But we want to watch one clip with you before we will go to the tool, so you can kind of get a feel of, hey, what are these stories about? What are they like? So we will take you to Faisal. Can I start it, Luca?
Yeah, maybe firstly, it's good to say, like you said, like we can tell a lot about the tool, but it's good to experiencing some elements ourselves. And I think the goal of today is showing you as much as examples we can in an hour. So we would like to introduce you to Faisal. He is living in Spain and he's 20 years old. So this is also a good video if you will work with a little older students. But it's really depending on your own group, of course. I think we're just gonna watch the video, and then afterwards I have a question for you. So you can start it. Let's see if the sound is working.
We'll also make sure the captions are on and in English.
Great.
Because that's something I forgot to mention. All the youngsters are speaking in their native tongue, or they're speaking the language of the country they are living in now. But all the clips are subtitles in all the language that we offer the tool in, so you can use it whatever class you are in and whichever language they are speaking.
Me llamo Faisal Danava y soy de Ghana y tengo 20 años. El tool es de...
I hear it, but a bit,
yeah,
not that loud, right?
Indeed.
Okay.
That's strange. Let's see, because my audio sound is the loudest it can be.
Other people are saying no sound as well. So let's see if we can do something.
I'm gonna try again because it does say that I'm sharing my audio.
Okay. Let's check. No, same. Maybe,
okay, then...
is it possible for Marta maybe to try it from her? Or should
otherwise we do have subtitles.
I want to ask you something. Of course, I can share it for you if you can just type maybe in the chat the YouTube link. But when you share your screen, Did you include the computer sound?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
So that's not the thing.
Okay, so maybe if you can post the link quickly in the chat, I can.
Yeah, I will.
Open it
Thank
on
you,
my
Marta.
on my computer, and fingers crossed it works.
Let's see.
Wait, now I'm getting a link for the ads that I do not want to share with you, of course. I think it should be there, and otherwise, if it's
Okay.
not working, we have subtitles, so that's our last resort.
Yeah, but let's try.
Let's give it a try.
It takes
great.
me really a second, so
Thank you.
I will just copy the link and open it here. Okay, then okay. I skip the. There is. Okay. Some advertisement that I wanted to skip for you. So no,
Great.
okay, that's my mistake because I forgot to include the computer sound. So let me do it again. Include computer sound. Okay. Let me
let's see.
know.
No, same for me.
And maybe I think it's something with the new teams because I've noticed this before.
Okay.
So let's just do it with the subtitles. Sorry for the inconvenience, but you can watch it also yourself afterwards if you really want to have the sound on, because I think it's just something with Teams.
Yeah, that might be because it's first time that this is happening actually.
Yeah,
So.
I also didn't have this problem before, but Teams had an update. So
Okay.
Unfortunately,
but
then I will
subtitles, so it's fine.
Yeah. So I will
Okay.
share my screen again so I can show you the clip.
Thank you, and sorry everyone for the inconvenience. We were not prepared as well.
No, we were thinking Teams would still work on this front, but
Indeed.
unfortunately, it's
And
not.
I just hear a little, so it's not no sound, but a little. So let's
Exactly,
see.
yeah.
Hopefully, some other people are experiencing the same. All right, let's take a
I will
look at
press
it.
play. There are
Yeah.
subtitles.
Me llamo Faisal Danaba y soy de Ghana y tengo 20 años. El tuve de 5 años, yo vivo aquí en Barcelona. Hay un conflicto en mi país. Había un día que este conflicto ya empezó. Pero mi padre no está en mi ciudad o no está en casa. Él está fuera para comprar sus corderos y volver en mi ciudad y vender. Por caso, ellos matar a mi padre. Lo que pasa, yo tengo un problema que es concreto, más que alguien te va a insultar a mí negro. Lo que es más importante es este color de piel, no es mi padre dice, él te gusta este color, o mi madre, no, o yo. Yo nací así, como cualquier persona. Entonces, si tú te coges mi color de piel y me insulta, no tengo ningún problema, porque se pasa a mí muchas veces. Muchas veces. A veces yo puedo coger el metro, si alguien te ve así, visto que tú eres negro, se coge su mochila como tú quieres robar. Pasar a mí más que 5 veces, pero que yo estaba buscando una habitación para creer que dónde va a estar cerca con mi trabajo. Y yo encontré una habitación que está en Colo Blanco. Nosotros ya hablamos, ya arreglado todo, cosas perfectamente, el precio y todo. Cuando llegó ahí para mirar esta habitación y dar su dinero y cogerle llaves, y él me ha dicho que lo siento, no puedo. Yo digo, pero ¿por qué? Digo que no, este piso antes había un chico negro que vive ahí. Yo digo, no, pero no mezclar todos. Este chico con su actitud, con sus cosas es diferente, tú no me conoces.
All right. Actually, I just wanted to ask you about your feeling after watching this video. Is it true, Marta, that you can help me with a word cloud?
That's true. So
Thank
let
you.
me share my screen. But before that, I would like to inform our participants that this time the code is different. So I'm posting it in the chat. Please go at menti.com with the new code and you can describe your emotion in one word
Yeah,
while
thank
you are entering your words. I will present the answers.
All right. And if you like, you also can explain a bit your emotion in the chat if you need some more words for it afterwards. Disrespect, I see. Injustice. Okay. We're waiting for a bit more. Sadness. Prejudice. A lot of sadness now we see. Becoming bigger. Concern. Okay. Anger as well. Is there someone who'd like to explain a bit why you're feeling like that? Maybe in the chat? Disappointment. Okay. Also interesting. Worrying. So a word cloud like this, we use it a lot in the tool as well. Now, of course, we're not working in the tool, but the idea of a word cloud we use a lot in Stories That Move tool, because it's a really good way of making your thoughts visible. And for students, it's really nice to see, like, okay, how are people in my class, for example, thinking? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? And it's actually also interesting because sometimes there can be emotions within the word cloud which are really different from each other. And that's interesting to start a conversation about, hey, why are you feeling like that? Hey, why are you feeling like that? And then you can learn so much from each other. I see a little bit in the chat. Let me see. Oh no, it's Marta.
Yeah, no, but actually we have
and
one
Anna.
person, yeah,
I see, yeah. I felt it
elaborating a
was,
bit more, yeah.
yeah. I felt it was unjust because discrimination is always serving injustice to somebody else, I guess. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Anna. Is there
I think it's
someone
also
else?
so good to mention, Luca,
Mhm.
which is also interesting to see, and what you will also notice when you do this with your students, is that sometimes, and it's also what we're seeing now, most words are negative. So a lot of times you kind of have a response that is negative, but it could also be positive, because another example of how somebody could feel is they kind of could feel inspired that he is sharing his story, or they can say,
Exactly.
I feel really impressed by him because he's able to tell this story. So it's also interesting to look with your students at, hey, why do we only have negative emotion and why is that so? And then it's also interesting to get them thinking about, oh wait, I can also look at this from a different point of view.
Thank you, Juliette. Totally true. I see some more in the chat. Let's see. Natasha, sorry, is saying, I wrote disappointment because stories like this make me disappointed when thinking about the future of humans. Yeah. Thank you. Sadness, more sadness. Yeah. So over here there are more like negative emotions, and that's totally fine. But it's like you said, Juliet, it's interesting because you can be surprised what your students can fill in, and yeah, you can start a conversation about it. Yeah.
I think it's time we go to the tool.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, I will share my screen again. You're seeing it? Because then I will show you. You can see the big login button. There is where you have to click when you want to go to the online tool. And then you can see you can log in as a learner, but also as an educator. And this is also where you can make an account if you do not have an account yet, but I'm going to log in as an educator. And here you can see if you're new, you click there. If you have an account, you can click on login. So I will just log in. And here you can see this is your teacher's dashboard where you come when you log into the tool, and you can see you have an option to make classes. And you can see I already have some classes here. And what's the good thing about this, because you just saw students can log in, so you can make a class that only is used by one of your classes. So you can gather them all in one group, and there they can give their answers. And which is also helpful, you can also see their progress. You can see here the button student progress, so you can see what they fill in. So it's also a tool that you could use for homework, but also to see if all students are taking it seriously, because that's also a good thing sometimes for us as teachers to check on. But before I will take you to the tool, I want to give you a little bit of insight in how it works when you make a class. So you can click create a new class. You can give it a name. So I will just do my own name to make it a bit easier. Then you do create, and then you can see all the learning paths, and you can select what you want them to see. So if you only want to do a lesson from the first learning path, you can only click that one, and that's the only lesson they will see. And later on, you can always change it. So for example, today I say, oh, we want to do this class. I will click all those, then I press on save. Then you will get a code for your class. This is the code you will share with your students when they want to log in to the tool, so they will be in your class. And then it will show at the top, you can see the pin code, how many students there are, and you can see here edit assignments, and then you can change it if you want. Like I mentioned before, you can also show pin again if you want it bigger, and the student progress. But like you see, it says student and student code. So we have two different options, because we know not all students in all schools have the ability to log in with a student email or with their own email. That's why we created student codes. So you can click on that and create a code, and then you can share this code with your students so they can log in that way. Then they don't need an email address. So it's just an easier way for you to also use the tool if that's not a possibility. But you can also see at the top, we have the demo version that you can also use. You can click on it, and then you will see the whole tool. You can go through everything, and you as a teacher, which is also good to know, you can scroll through everything. You don't have to fill in all the answers, but students have to. They cannot continue until they have clicked something or typed something. But you as a teacher, because you want to have an overview, can just go through it at once. Students do not need to register if they use a student account. They do if they use their own email, because then they will create an account as well, but it's free again. They will get an email. They just have to press a link and then they're in. But if that's not possible, use the codes. I will use one of the classes I already made so you can see some pre-filled answers. Because that's nice for you to also see how it kind of works when there are people in the class. So I will use this one. And then when you click follow class like student, then you will see the exact same thing as your students are seeing. So this is, again, the main thing they will enter. And then you can say, okay, we're going to do this one. And you can click on it. I'm now realizing I clicked the wrong class. Luca was probably already thinking you didn't do the right one. I needed
It's
this
all
one.
fine.
Let's see.
And like you mentioned, Juliette, it's like students naturally wanted to swipe because it has a bit like a feeling like an app, but it's really about slow learning. So it's really about taking time for every element in the lesson. So that's also why they have to get some answers before they can go through to the next part of the lesson. So yeah, we are in the lesson facing discrimination in the first one, I believe, right, Juliette? Yeah. All right. We're gonna go through it. We're not gonna do the full lesson, of course, but we're gonna pick some elements. And like I said, I want to show you actually as much as videos we can do in the time we have. But first of all, we're gonna start with this question. What do you know about discrimination? And you can fit it in the chat, and then or Juliette's gonna pick some out, and we can fill it in the tool. So yeah, we are curious about what do you already know about discrimination?
And use keywords, no sentences,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it's not gonna fit. That's a good one, Juliette.
Behavior. I can see somebody said really interesting. I'm not entirely sure if that's something I should put in as an answer because it's 2 words. So I'm just gonna wait for a few more answers.
There are some other ideas. Like I said, there's nothing, no good or wrong. Just it's a question to start with. Also with your students, just what do you already know? Maybe stereotypes. I see bullying, prejudice.
I see bullying also.
Mm-hmm. The last one for now. Which one are you gonna choose, Juliette?
I see tragedy. I think that's you want how. So what happens for students is they have to fill in at least 2 answers and then this button will turn green. But for you, it was already green because you're a teacher. And then
yeah, so then you can continue and then there will be a word cloud. And for now, there are some other tags already there and they're in Dutch. But they're also the 4 or 5. I don't know. I see 5 or 4 we put in right now. There are 5 now. So this is an example of using a word cloud in the tool. So everyone can see, okay, so this is already the knowledge or the ideas we have about this specific topic, discrimination. Is there something else, Juliette, I forget with this part, or?
I think it's good to know, you might have noticed as well, but the answers you filled in are circled with the blue lining and the white behind it. So you as a student can also always see, oh, this is what I filled in. If there are more answers, the list will be longer. So you can scroll through all of them. We did choose, not like what you saw with Mentimeter, words are not getting bigger because we want students to feel like all my answers are equally as valued. So it's not if it's used more that they will be bigger just for that reason. So you might have a lot of doubling in your list, but it's also interesting then to discuss with your students, hey, what word are we missing? Or, hey, this is something that we see a lot. So you can also just let them first look at it themselves before you will discuss it together. I can see there are some few more answers coming in, that's also always good to know. You just saw me as well. You can click on this blue button because some students will get here maybe a little bit later, and then you can refresh it if you get more answers, because sometimes people are also inspired by what they see, and you can go back, fill something else in again, and click on continue, and it will be added to the list.
All right. Then I think we're gonna skip this part, but we're gonna directly go to another video we want to watch together. And it's a video of 5 young people. And all the 5 stories you're gonna watch in this video, and afterwards students can choose which story they want to discover a bit more about. They can pick one person out, and they can choose, like, okay, now I want to dive in a bit more in the story of that specific person. Sorry. Yeah, I think the sound problem will be the same, but there will be subtitles again. So let's watch.
Yeah, and I do want to mention, because of the time-wise, I might not watch the whole clip, but I do want you to see parts of each story. So I might sometimes move a little bit further just so you have an idea of the stories that are in there.
Ich bin Tyrell, ich bin 14 Jahre alt, ich bin in Berlin geboren, ich bin dann nach England gezogen und wohne jetzt wieder in Berlin. Meine Mutter ist Eltern, sie kommen aus Ghana, mein Vater ist Deutscher. Damals war ich in der 4. Klasse, glaube ich. Da saß ich in der Klasse und da hatte ein Mädchen so einen interessanten Radiergummi und den habe ich halt so angefasst und habe mir den so angeguckt. Und dann nahm sie mir den aus der Hand und hat angefangen, mir so im Gesicht rumzureiben, so vors Gesicht. Und dann meinte ich so, hey, was willst du machen? So, meine Hautfarbe kannst du nicht wegbekommen. So. Und dann meinte sie, doch. Und dann meinte ich so, nee. Und dann meinte ein Junge, der drüben saß, der meinte dann zu mir, natürlich, denn schwarze Haut käme vom Teufel. Ja, das war so schockierend. So. Ich habe mich so ein bisschen hilflos gefühlt. So. Oder ich wusste nicht, was ich fühlen sollte. Ich wusste einfach gar nicht, was ich fühlen sollte. Ich wusste nicht, wie ich das nehmen sollte. So.
Мене звуть Нікіта, я з України, мені 17 років, і я займаюся дизайном. Як гомосексуальна людина в Україні, в мене немає можливості создати партнерство або укласти шлюб з моїм партнером. І це буквально така велика частина з усіх цих законів, які недоступні для пар, які узаконюють свої права на дитину, на майно і так далі. Але нещодавний приклад такого випадку, коли мій партнер хотіли зняти квартиру, і коли в нього спросив орендавець, хто тут буде жити, типу, чи собаки, чи діти, чи хто, і він сказав, я і мій партнер. А цей роботодавець сказав такий, не думаю. І це така ситуація, коли тобі просто не дають жити або зняти квартиру, коли просто в тебе така ідентичність. Я думаю, немає взагалі сенсу щось там казати, тому що якщо цей орендавець гомофобний або вона, то якийсь сенс, це ж в неї є право на цю квартиру, ми ж не можемо якось змусити її, тому краще просто йти собі шукати нову квартиру і поберегти нерви. Так.
Jeg hedder Anna. Jeg er fra Danmark, København. Jeg er 17 år gammel, og lige nu så går jeg i gymnasiet. Så jeg har taget den her halskæde med, som er en davidsstjerne, og det er symbolet for jødedommen, min religion. Og det er vigtigt for mig, fordi at det minder mig om, ligesom, hvem jeg er. Så halskæden har givet mig nogle problemer. Nogle gange så folk, de spørger bare ind til det, og de spørger mig ligesom, når så er du jøde, og så siger jeg selvfølgelig, ja, det er jeg. Og sådan, så spørger de ind til min relation til Israel og sådan noget, fordi det er meget omtalt i medierne. Og de fleste, de har en okay reaktion til det. De fleste vil ikke diskutere med mig eller noget, hvilket jeg synes er helt fint. Men der er nogen, som ikke tager det så pænt. For eksempel så var jeg til en fest, hvor der var en muslim, der kom over til mig, og så sagde han, når så du er jøde, sagde ja. Så sagde han, når så du støtter Israel, så sagde jeg, ja, det gør jeg, fordi det er sandheden, hvorfor skulle jeg lyve om det? Så sagde han, når så du er terrorist, så du går rundt og dræber palæstinenser, så du støtter alt, hvad Israel gør, du støtter, at de går rundt og dræber mit folk, for han var åbenbart palæstinenser. Så kaldte han på sine venner, og så lige pludselig så stod der 10 muslimske drenge over for mig, og de sagde, at jeg ville være død, hvis jeg var en dreng. At jeg ville, hvorfor jeg overhovedet var der. At jeg skulle dø, at min familie skulle være dræbt i Holocaust, at jeg skulle i et gaskammer. At der i princippet ikke var nogen plads til mig i Danmark, fordi at jeg er jøde. Og fordi at jeg har den tro, jeg har de meninger, jeg har.
A nevem Márk, Magyarországról jöttem, és 17 éves vagyok. Van egy helyzet, még most is, tehát ez most olyan, hogy ugye van egy barátnőm Budapesten, és ő magyar. És ő nagyon szeret engem, de viszont az apja azt mondta, hogy neki nem tetszik a bőrszínem. De nem értem, hogy miért mondja, de nem is ismer engem, tehát ítélkezik, és ez nagyon rosszul esik, és nem az, hogy nem is akar megismerni, tehát így látvány alapján. És egy képen látott csak, tehát már 2 éve együtt vagyunk, és ezt úgy kezeljük, tehát, hogy akkor találkozunk, mikor ő jön haza suliból, akkor felmegy Pestre, hazakísérem, vagy van egy óránk. Persze neki is nagyon rosszul esik, meg nagyon sokat sír. Hát én meg így próbálom kezelni, tehát nem tudok mit tenni, de muszáj eltűrnöm. Nem tudok egyáltalán mit tenni. Egyetem vége, neki is, nekem is, aztán beköltözünk valahogy. Ennyi, tehát egyértelmű. Nem foghatják folyamatosan a szülei a kezét még 20 évesen is.
Volám sa Salma Al-Henami, mám 22 rokov a pochádzam aj zo Slovenska, aj z Jemenu. Prečo nosím tú šatku? Je tam viacero dôvodov a začína to určite tým, že vnímam, že to je nejaký nábožensko-spirituálny akt. Stretla som sa s viacerými ako keby komentármi od pozitívnych do negatívnych, od toho, že ľudia nechápu, že prečo to robím, od toho, že jedna pani na zastávke ma zastavila, že mám peknú šatku na hlave, že je to veľmi rôzne. Vôjdem do autobusu, ľudia sa strašne pozerajú a sú to také škaredé pohľady proste, ktoré už iba tým pohľadom to všetko, človek odkomunikuje, čo si myslí. Stretla som sa veľakrát s takými komentármi, že vlastne moslimovia iba utlačajú moslimky, ženy a tak ďalej. Ja už počasie tieto otázky ani veľakrát nemám rada, lebo ako keby, že stačí si pozrieť, ako ja žijem a stačí si vygoogliť ďalšie proste ženy a moslimky a proste človek vidí, že není to tak. Mne otec nehovoril, aby som si dala tú šatku na seba, ani nikto proste z mužov z mojej rodiny. A moslimky sú rôznorodé, každá má iné pravidlá ohľadom toho, takže ja, ak som s niečím v pohode, iná moslimka nemusí s tým byť v pohode, že napríklad už iba u nás v domácnosti ja sa veľakrát líčim od mojej maminy v pravidlách.
All right. Yeah, perfect, Ashley. Thanks. So after watching the video, students can pick one person they want to know more about. And I actually also want to ask you the same question. You can fill in the name of the person you want to know more about in the chat, and please add also the reason why. It can be anything, and that's also interesting to see, because everyone is picking the video in a different way. So it's nice to see how you will pick the person you would like to know more about. So take some time for it. And then it's we have 10 minutes left, I see. There will be also some time for some questions later, of course. But let's first see what kind of videos you would like to go through if you wanted to, if you will be a student. Selma, Anna, Tyrell, and please also add like why, the reason, because that's the most interesting part to me at least.
It's also nice to see we already have almost every name mentioned.
Yeah.
Which is good to see. And it's also part of the reason why we have this option is so that students really can choose themselves. And it's something they are interested in, that they want to know and learn more about. And it's not just us as teacher telling them. So it's choosing options comes back a lot in all the stories that move exercises. See here, somebody mentioned why Salma, because of diversity of Muslim women.
Thank you.
Let's see if we have some more responses.
Like last Tuesday, we had this webinar, but then in Dutch. And one of the participants shared her option. She was going for, let me see, Tyrell. And she said like, yeah, I think I picked him because he looks like my children. And that's most of the time an option people choose where they feel represented or not. It's not always the option, of course, but it can be an interesting one. Let me see. I see Tyrell because of the color of the skin in 2024. Okay. Mark, Anna, because it is a very dangerous situation. All right.
I will just quickly click one so you can see what then happens for the students, just to give you a little bit of insight. I was thinking of choosing somebody what's mentioned multiple times, but it's I think it's a tie between some people. I will do Salma because she's also the newest story we've added. And I got to meet her in January this year, so that's also
nice.
in person nice to have that. But then you can see all the students will form a group, so you will ask together like who chose who. You can let them sit in a group and watch the clip again. Some of the clips are longer, so they will get a little bit more information of the story. So they will watch it again, and then they will get some questions about the story. So they will discuss it amongst themselves so they can see, okay, what is happening. And then they will look also at the situation, which persons were there, what was happening, which form of discrimination took place, which Luca also mentioned. You maybe also noticed it's different stories, but they're all talking about a different form of discrimination. So each group will also look into a different form, or maybe if the same story is chosen a lot of the time, you can also discuss with the class, hey, why did nobody choose the story of Mark? Or why did nobody choose this story? Because that's also interesting to discuss with the students. And then they will get the question, do we think that people have influences on a situation? So you can also discuss, hey, does it do something if we as a student would react in a situation? So that's kind of the build of the learning path. So here you can already see some different forms of questions. We have multiple choice, we have open questions, sliders, word clouds, so different ways of engaging, and also watching clips together, watching clips with two people, doing questions alone or doing questions in groups. So there's a lot of also blended learning happening in the way they answer the questions. And then at the end, they will again look back at the answer they gave before to see, hey, what did I say? And then they're asked again, what do we know now? Or what do I know now? And then they will get a workout again. So you can also really track what did they learn during this lesson from beginning to end. It's kind of how this one lesson is built. And I think also it's good because I want to show you, I forgot to mention before, you can see the big button with the I in there. There's information for you as a teacher as well and how you can do this exercise. So some tips to discuss, but also how it's working. So there's information, and sometimes also students have information with this button to help them with certain questions.
All right.
Go to the PowerPoint again, because if you have any questions, you can ask them now in the chat. Is it working?
Well, it's good to read. A lot of people find it interesting and inspiring. That's perfect.
Also a great way to get familiar with the tool for those who were not familiar at all, and to explore how they can actually use it in the classroom with their students. Because as you said at the beginning, I think this sometimes could be for teachers really a challenge. And it's not always that easy to address it in the classrooms, especially if you are not equipped with the right tools. So this is indeed a good starting point for those who had no idea on how to address. And I think it was indeed very helpful because in the chat we have a lot of comments pointing out that now they feel a bit more equipped and they can start actually exploring also how to address this topic in their classrooms with the students. I haven't seen any specific questions throughout the webinars, or at least I saw them, but you replied while you were presenting already.
Oh, I see a question, but I also first want to mention something else before I will answer the question. Because which is also good with this tool, what we hear a lot about teachers that use it is because it's a difficult topic, but because it's also built of students first thinking for themselves and then sharing, like Luca also mentioned, kind of slowing the process down. It also helps them to feel more safe in answering the questions because it's really difficult, but it gives you a little bit more space to think about it yourselves before saying it with the whole group. And I show on the screen, you can see an email address. So if you have any questions about anything regarding the tool, also when you start using it, do not hesitate to send us an email. We always want to help if we can, but we also have social media accounts. Our Instagram is quite active because we also share that on that page new ideas to use it, tips, but also when we have new stories added to the tool because there are still stories coming. So please follow us as well there so you can keep up to date for all those content. But
or if I can add something small, Juliette, or if you have any feedback, we are super open for feedback because we want to improve it as much as we can. So let us know if you see something when you're using a lesson, a learning path, anything. So you can use the email address for that as well.
Yeah, and the question that was asked before about youth exchange programs, we have in the Anne Frank House one part of our colleagues from our educational departments. They work at the project that is called Anne Frank Youth Network, and they do exchange a lot of youth exchanges. They organize them, and also one of our partners within the project is in Poland. It's the Chizova Foundation. They organize a lot of youth exchange where they also use stories that move. So it is organized. We do not organize it ourselves, at least Luca and I do not. So it's not from our part, but we do have people within the organization or organization that we work with that do use it. And there also will be some additional ideas on how you can use stories that move in these programs coming on the website soon, because our Polish partners have made some formats for this. I can share our email address in the chat. I think that should also help.
Thank you.
Or because that's our main address. And also on the website of Stories That Move, there's a page that says the team or country coordinators. There you can also find the email address of the person that's responsible in the country you're from, if we have it in your language, so you can directly contact that person. So those email addresses are also on the website.
And I see another question. Is there a video tutorial? I know we have a guide, right? A PDF guide, or not a video, right, Juliette?
Not yet. We have, if you come to the homepage, you will see a website of a video that kind of shows you what kind of questions there are in and which each learning pod is about.
It's like introduction video.
Introduction, and we're planning to film some instruction videos in April. Our colleague will be filming these, so they're coming, and it will be some smart to get a little bit more information. How does it work? What is it based on? So those are coming. Until then, it's just the webinars that we give, but we're working on it.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you very much to all the participants for joining us today, for being so active in the chat and for interacting with us. It was a really nice interaction, so we really appreciated that. And of course, thank you very much, Juliette and Luca, for accepting our invitation and for giving so much inspiring full content to our e-twinners, our teachers. It was a fruitful hour spent together, and we are looking forward for maybe a second appointment to go more into detail and explore more about this tool. I'm sure our participants would be really happy to do that. I wish you all a good evening, and I remind you that the recording will be available on the group of the campaign as of the next days. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you
Bye,
for
everyone.
having us.
Thank you.